What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today, we'll be joined by Chris Manning from Locked On Cavaliers. The Cavs are off to an 8-1 start this season behind some really impressive play from Donovan Mitchell, starting his journey as a member of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Continued efforts by Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley to anchor things in the middle of the floor. Plus, how does Darius Garland look sharing the backcourt in a couple games so far with Mitchell? All of that coming up in just a second after a quick message from our friends over at Prize Picks. Next game, how about Donovan Mitchell to score more than 26.5 points? What about LeBron James to have more than 7.5 rebounds? How about Nikola Jokic to have more than 8.5 assists? Look, how does Prize Picks work? What is it? How do you play? You pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Pick projections, you're going to win up to 10 times back on your money on any single entry. There's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch. That includes NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, you name it, they've got you covered over at Prize Picks. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that simple. They offer safe and very, very fast withdrawals. Download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Joining us now from Locked On Cavs is Chris Manning, who you can follow on Twitter at CWMWrites. Here to talk about the Cavs' really strong start to this season. 8-1 start, top 2 defensive team out of the gate, number 7 in offensive rating. Chris, let's start on the defensive side of things, because it really all does start with Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley, that front court duo. How good have they been just continuing to anchor things down low for this Cavs team?
I mean, they've been sensational. This is a team without that kind of traditional apex wing stopper that you would think. They don't even have like a PJ Tucker type really to kind of shoulder some of that. It's really all built on those two guys. And I think Mobley in particular is having like a sensational season. I think he's having an all defensive caliber season. I mean, you go watch the Pistons game from Friday. He has the most blocks for a Cavs player in a game since 1993. He's just snatching the ball from guys when they drive at him. Like they've both been sensational, but I think Mobley in particular has been dominant and awesome. And it's about those two guys making life easier for everybody else. And to Donovan Mitchell's credit on top of that, he's trying. And he's never going to be a lockdown. He's never going to be like the A+ guy, but coming off of that Maverick series last year, where he got shredded. He's been competent, he's been effortful, and that matters a lot.
That was going to be actually a follow-up that I had a little bit later on, so you're getting ahead of yourself here, Chris. Come on, man. No, I was curious, right? Like how much of just the Cleveland culture, their identity as this team that prides itself on being a defensive nightmare in the NBA, how much of that is kind of rubbing off on Donovan Mitchell to this point?
It seems like he's bought in. We'll see how that persists over 82 games into the playoffs, but they played the Celtics for the second time last Wednesday. Late in that game, Mitchell had a possession where he locked up Tatum. He locked up Jason Tatum, who's awesome, who's much bigger than him, who's the kind of wing scorer that has hunted Mitchell in the past. And he had some lapses early in that game. It's not like he's going full games without making miscues. But in that moment, he rose up to the occasion. He put his feet in the ground and he tried. And sometimes that's all you can ask. And for Mitchell, that's such a step up from where he ended his Jazz tenure. He's playing within himself. He's playing at this level that you're seeing some of the stuff that made him an interesting defensive prospect coming out of Louisville. And then he evolved into something else. And he's still doing that other stuff, but he's at least trying on defense and using his gifts. And it's going a long way. And I think whatever the reason is, whether it's Bickerstaff, whether it's a new environment for him, it's mattered a lot.
Now, on the other side of things, the offensive side, I mean, Mitchell has just been absolutely phenomenal. He's had to step up in a big way with with Darius Garland missing some time here to start the season. How impressed have you been with Donovan Mitchell and his start, in a Cavs jersey?
I've seen some Jazz people on Twitter kind of point out this is maybe the best basketball they've ever seen him play, and I would tend to think that's true. He has been downright efficient. He has been ruthless in getting to the line. So the Lakers game on Sunday, for instance, doesn't have a good 3-point shooting night. He's 1 of 7 from 3, but he gets to the line 13 times. 10 of 7 from the field overall, has 33 points. He has just been able to get to his spots whenever he wants. He's explosive all the time, and he's getting fouled a ton and maximizing his free throws. He's been, I think, downright awesome. And then he's also been willing, as Garland comes back, you're seeing them get comfortable with each other right away. And that's going to be maybe an indicator of and how those two gel will tell us how far this team can go and how good they can be when everything's on the table. But he's synced in well with Garland as well and has been willing to let Garland get going and try to help Garland kind of acclimate himself back into things. But he's been awesome. I think he's been one of the best, like 5 to 7 players in the league to start the year. And I mean, right now, like obviously very early and everything, but the Cavs, I think, are feeling very, very, very good about that trade.
Hey, I'm feeling pretty good about it too, Chris, because I like picked the Cavs as like my, like, I don't want to say surprise team out east, but I was like, man, like you just look at the talent on the roster. They've got 4 all-stars. Like, how can you not expect this team to take a significant leap? I kind of figured they'd be vying for home court advantage this season. And so far, at least in the early going, that prediction looks like it's holding strong. You talked about it there, briefly, just obviously small sample size, right? Just really a couple games to kind of draw from now. The Celtics game, the Lakers game Sunday, for Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland kind of sharing the floor together. But with those two guys, how much easier does having a guy out there like Donovan Mitchell kind of make life for Darius Garland to continue kind of quarterbacking things for this team?
It has made his life easier in that I don't feel like he is overburdened anymore. Last year, we saw him at times, particularly late in games in crunch time, struggle because the Cavs didn't have anyone else to really give the ball to initiate offense to, particularly after Ricky Rubio tore his ACL. The offense just was so reliant on him. And now it's not. And now you're seeing them so far. The trend with them has been Mitchell is going to be the one taking more shots for the most part. He's going to be the big scorer. Garland's going to be the one quarterbacking things, as you said, I think correctly, passing the ball, kind of keeping things moving at times. And Mitchell's going to be the finisher in a lot of ways. But I think it's made Garland's life a lot easier. And I think it's a reminder that he is a special passer and a special creator more than he is a special scorer. He has that ability to get hot and take pull-up threes and all of that stuff. But he is, I think, at his best when he's mixing those two together and leaning into passing a ton and creating for others. And Mitchell allows him to do that, I think, much easier.
Now, elsewhere in this Cavs lineup, this first off, when you look at this Cavs roster, like top to bottom, you're just like, where are the wings, right? Like you just, they're basically chock full of, they've got forwards, they've got bigs, power forward centers, they've got, a ton of guards, and then they've just got no legitimate wings. Right now, Karis LeVert kind of, is the default guy, the starting 3. Is he the long-term guy there at the 3 in your eyes, Chris, or is there a world where maybe, Isaac Okoro or Cedi Osman maybe steps into that spot as the season goes along? Or maybe even a guy like Dean Wade, possibly?
I think it's Wade and LeVert have been kind of the best two-way guys in that sense. I think LeVert, to his credit, he said he was healthy coming into the year and he's played like it. He's been very good at creating. Wade has come in and been kind of what Dean Wade is, just in slightly more minutes now, kind of earning. Well, he got a contract extension before the season as well, which made you think the Cavs kind of had a role in mind for him. I think long-term though, Jackson, I think it feels like if there is a move to be made on this roster, and I don't know if it's in season now, just based on they don't have a ton left to trade unless like they're going to flip LeVert or flip Kevin Love, which I don't think they're going to do either of those things, nor should they. I think like there is another move to be made to go find a wing, like Jay Crowder would make some sense for them. I don't really see a trade there. I think Harrison Barnes, were he to become available, would make sense. Like if they bought lower in season, you could flip some stuff you have to maybe go after like a Josh Richardson type just to shore that up in the short term. Wing is absolutely still where I think this team needs something. Mobley certainly, I think, can cover for some of that. And you'll see him and Allen switch a ton onto perimeter wing players. And I think you'll see that more and more and more in close games and into the playoffs, provided, everything goes to plan and they get that far. But LeVert's been good. Wade's been good. Osman's been pretty good. I still think that's the spot on the roster where you're trying to find a real upgrade going forward.
Yeah, just kind of holding it down by committee a little bit here. A little bit from LeVert one night, Osman one night, Wade one night, that kind of thing. Last thing for you here, Chris. You mentioned his name there earlier a moment ago, but Ricky Rubio, what's the latest on him? When can we expect him to rejoin this Cavs team? Is he, how is he progressing?
So at media day, the last time they gave like a big answer about this, he said that he could play somewhere between November and January. he's traveling with the team. I don't think that is an indicator that he's like close, but that it means something that he's not necessarily just staying behind and doing all of that. I still don't think we're going to see him until December, maybe into January, just because he's coming off an ACL tear in that knee for the second time. So it's like you got to be very careful with him. They signed him to a multi-year contract. So I think the idea is that they're going to bring him back slowly as they can. But I think he will play a ton when he comes back, but it just depends on when it is. Does he kind of bump a Corful out? Does he cut into LeVert's minutes? Does he mean Garland and Mitchell aren't playing 37, 38 minutes every night? Like, how does that kind of look like? But it seems like I would guess Jackson probably December at the earliest, but we will see if it's more of January just based on caution and trying to give him as much time as he needs to be 100% right before he actually makes his return.
How will Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland continue to mesh and grow together on the court for this Cavs team? Who's the long-term answer at that 3 spot for the Cavs? You're going to have us covered for all of that and more over at Locked On Cavs. Chris, I appreciate you stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
Anytime, buddy.